Hey guys, we're here back again. This time we are making a video that addresses the notion that Vainglory is dying. Now, a lot of people have asked me to make this video or just to really state my opinion on the whole situation, and we'll get into details as far as what exactly everybody's talking about and why. A lot of people are on Twitter, a lot of people are on Facebook, any kind of social forum, Reddit, even YouTube. People are making YouTube videos right now, like myself right now, making videos talking about their opinion on the whole situation. You guys can also check out Flash X's video down below in the description. It has his opinion on the whole fiasco of what's happening with Vainglory, and he definitely has a more factual insight as far as what's happening because he's in the inside looking out, because he's actually part of the organizations that had franchise spots. And while we're not sure whether or not TSM still has theirs, he hasn't really revealed that. It definitely makes his opinion very valuable to the community because he actually knows a lot of the intricacies that are going on with behind the scenes, and it's really awesome to see him stepping up to the plate to really support the community and inform them with factual information rather than just assumptions, which a lot of people are doing, and just making uninformed, uneducated claims. And so I'm also wanting to kind of address that too, because I've done my own research and I've actually talked to a lot of people who are involved with the scene behind the curtain, and I want to kind of bring that to the forefront as well. But anyway, so let's go ahead and talk about what's the situation entirely. So right now, the big discussion is that a lot of organizations are leaving the competitive VG scene, VG entirely almost, I think, at this point. They're not even involving themselves. Some of their members might still play casually, but there's no competitive involvement. There's no paid players anymore, paid to compete in the tournaments like VG8, and they're stepping away from the game. The reason behind this is because these organizations, a lot of them lost their franchise spot. Now, what is a franchise system that we're talking about here? So basically, in the situation of Vainglory with organizations, their franchise system is where they pay these organizations to compete and to advertise in Vainglory. So they advertise Vainglory through their outlets, their social forums, their YouTube channels, their streamers, their players, all the stuff they're supposed to do. They're supposed to advertise the game in any fashion they can, and in return, they get a financial stipend from SCMC for their teams to compete in the game. And so that's kind of how it works. And the stipend isn't anything laughable. It's pretty substantial. And I can see why they would want to stay given that stipend, that franchise spot. Now, the issue that arose was a lot of these organizations, while not all of them, some of them did really, really good with providing content to advertise the game. A lot of the organizations did not. While they did have maybe one or two different methods of providing that advertisement, it wasn't consistent. It wasn't something they were regularly doing to help push the Vainglory scene to an audience that doesn't know about the game. Their audience, the audience they've built up over multiple games like Overwatch, League of Legends, all that audience, they were supposed to advertise Vainglory to that audience that has built their social platform, their market, and they weren't doing that. They weren't providing the content. So for instance, Flash X in his video made a huge contrast, which is really awesome because it puts us in perspective here. So if you go to the TSM page, you see the Road to Glory series, I think that's what it was called, and they have a lot of content pumped out revolved around Vainglory, and it was something that was done over the course of the franchise system and its duration, and they were continually doing that. They were doing their part as per the contract, which is a requirement to make content to advertise the game. A lot of the other organizations, you go to their YouTube channels, you go to their streamers, they're not doing anything for the game, at least not to the fashion they were supposed to, not to the level they were supposed to be doing. And so why would you keep paying these organizations if they're not going to adhere to these stipulations of the contract, which is advertise our game? They weren't doing that. So Vainglory decided, we're going to go ahead and reevaluate how we want to handle the franchise system here, and we're going to go ahead and release those who weren't even pulling their weight as far as the contract goes. And that was a lot of organizations. And so by cutting ties with them, those organizations decided to step away from Vainglory. For whatever reasons they had, they stepped away from Vainglory, whether it was just the money or whether they feel like the game is just not approachable in a financial sustainable way, given that they lost the franchise spot. Perhaps they'll come back. Who knows? We'll have to see. But for now, they're stepping away. And that's a huge concern for a lot of the players who keep up with that esports scene, because now they're seeing, okay, well, all these orgs are leaving. Cloud9, Tempo Storm, Misfits, SK Gaming, and the list goes on. Gangstars. A lot of these people are leaving the scene, so everybody's making assumptions like, oh my god, Vainglory's dying. It's like, oh my god. Even myself had, my reserved thoughts of, oh shit, like what's happening? And I even went ahead and sent a message. I didn't want to make any kind of uneducated claims to the public, so I didn't go and blast Vainglory like, oh my god, the game's dying. What are you doing at Vainglory? I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be informed. I want to do my research. So I went ahead and talked to some of the devs in Vainglory. I'm not going to name who, but they explained the situation, and I completely understood the reasonings, because why would you continue to pay somebody to advertise when they weren't advertising you? You're paying them to do something, but they weren't doing it. You get fired for that in a normal job. You're like, hey, you're supposed to work the register, and I'm paying you to do so, but you're just standing there eating a Snickers. Like, you're fired. Same situation, just on a broader scope, a more money involved scope. There's a lot more money floating around the system, and money that isn't something they can just throw out, especially with a startup company like SCMC. They can't just throw money out like it's nothing, like Tencent can. Tencent could be like, here's like $50,000 or however much it is. Here's your franchise money. Oh, you're not advertising us. That's whatever. You're not going to be franchised anymore, but that money didn't really hurt us. It's okay. We'll go ahead and explore elsewhere. Vainglory, that's very impactful. That's very detrimental to their budget, because they have sponsors. They have a budget that they have to adhere to. And so they can't really say, okay, well, this isn't working. Let's just keep pumping money over here then. Well, no, you have to reevaluate. You have to step back and say, okay, where can we make cuts, budget cuts, to readdress this issue in a way that would be more impactful for the future? And that's what they're doing right now. They're stepping back. They're realizing the esports scene wasn't working. They're realizing that these organizations just aren't pulling the weight that we thought they were going to. So let's go a more traditional route, as Flash X said. Let's go ahead and advertise through the normal means. Through social outlets, pumping out paid advertisements, not to organizations, but through normal traditional means like Mobile Legends has, AOV is starting to do so, PUBG, all these games that are blowing up, very successful in the mobile scene, are doing it a specific way, and now Vainglory is now stepping back to reevaluate their means of doing things and potentially saying, okay, let's go ahead and do that route as well. It works for them. It's proven time and time again. This is what works. Let's go ahead and pull our funds from what's not working and put it towards something that is working. So that's what they're doing. And to be honest, the esports scene, while it's a great venture into definitely the uncharted, since Vainglory was the forefront of a completely undeveloped mobile esports scene. Nobody did mobile esports until Vainglory started doing it. Then Vainglory, once he got it established, then Clash Royale came out and tried to break into that esports scene, capitalize on that. And then now AOV is trying to do the same. While they did have a huge esports scene in China with Honor of Kings, they're now trying to break into more of the Westerner esports scene that Vainglory has established for the mobile market. And while Vainglory itself doesn't get to capitalize on their investment yet, it's not to say that Vainglory Esports is completely dead. It'll still be alive and thriving, just not to the level it once was. But eventually, as they grow the game through traditional means, it'll come back to where it was and even surpass that potentially, so long as they keep, everything in check. Nothing's perfect. Things happen randomly or just in certain fashions that have some sort of bump in the road that they have to get around and just work out a solution. And that's what they're doing right now. And so Do I feel like the game is dying? No, I think it's in a transitional phase where now it's like, okay, it's very stagnant. It's not dying per se. It's still going to be around for a very long time, even if they were to do nothing. The general amount of people who play this game don't follow esports. They don't even watch the channels, like my channel or even Diazio, T Tigers, Flash X, Gabe Vizzle, which I don't understand why you guys aren't watching them. Check them out. Check out their channels. They're on YouTube. Definitely watch them. They're very valuable if you really want to learn the deep down, very super secret strategies to be a pro player, because they are pro players. And so, it's just, I don't know. It's just, at this point, it's in a transitional phase. And once they go over that and they start to progress towards a more impactful decision, like the traditional route of marketing, it's really going to start to show. It's going to be baby steps at first, but then within the next, I'm going to shoot 3-4 months, you probably should see an upturn in data as far as viewership, as far as player base, because they're going to be spending their funds in a more lucrative area, which is traditional marketing, which I keep referencing. And that's kind of what they're doing right now. So, and like I said, I think Flash X was tooting like 95% of the population, while it's not 100% factual. Like a huge percent of the audience of any game that's competitive, especially, they're not involved with what you and I are watching. They're not involved with esports. They're not even watching channels. They're just playing casually. And they may spend money here and there, but they're not concerned to get to a level at which, like, oh, I want to go competitive. I want to be top tier player in Vainglory. That's a very finite amount of players. That's a very niche group. I would have to say, if I was going to put out numbers there, I would say 10% of the entire population of a competitive game is involved with the competitive scene. Until that game gets to the level of, say, like Fortnite, it's a little bit different. Fortnite went super viral, and now everybody and their brother knows about Fortnite and is now knowing about Ninja and doing his gameplay with Drake. Everybody knows about this stuff, so now they're starting to get interested. So that's a different scenario. But in the general case, like even League of Legends, a vast majority don't follow the League of Legends scenes. I played League of Legends for years, and I didn't watch any esports whatsoever. Probably why I sucked, but I didn't watch any esports at all. And that's very normal. Knox Fox didn't watch it. He and I played all the time. Everybody we played with vast majority, didn't really watch the esports scene. They played to have fun. They had their fun. So then they went ahead and, turned off the computer and came back at a later date to have more fun. They didn't care to spend 5 to 6 hours watching esports and then YouTube to get better mechanically. They just played to play. And that's the vast majority of the population for Vainglory. So everything you're hearing right now is a very small portion of the community. The reason why you're hearing about it is because what's said more? Things that are positive or things that are negative? Or I should rather say, who speaks louder? Those who have something negative to say, or those who have something positive to say? For example, okay, so you get this brand new game, okay, for PlayStation or whatever it may be, and you're like, dude, this game is so freaking good. I'm gonna tweet this out. This game is so freaking good. Sure, some people are gonna say that, but most people, if they get this game and like, what the fuck, dude, there's so many bugs. I am contacting support. Support is not helping me. Ooh, I am blasting them on Twitter. Your support for such and such game sucks ass. ! Send. Those are the people that are going to speak louder than those who are positive, because those who are having a good time are not going to waste their time going on a social forum to talk about how much good time they're having. They're going to be spending that time playing that game because they're enjoying the shit out of it, Whereas those who are having problems playing the game, those who are not happy with the game, are the ones spending the time to find a solution, the ones that are spending their time to ventilate on a social forum. That's what you're seeing. And so now, at this point, a lot of the initial discussion was of a negative narrative Now you're starting to see some people who are coming out of the woodwork and now coming out and saying, look, let's take this a more educated approach and trying to speak of the positive aspects of this after the fact that all those people speaking negative had their place first. And so Flash X, Iraqi Zorro, I've seen, a lot of different people like Sugenerous, Sujay. They're starting to speak out and say, look, don't take what these people are saying at heart. Don't take it, just take it at face value. Don't go any further than that. Let yourself say, okay, that's their opinion, but do your research. Like, don't just assume that's fact. And I'm not saying everything we're saying that is, said in our videos like mine or Flash X is 100% foolproof, 100% fact. But we're really trying to analyze the situation, especially since we have information from the inside as far as what's going on and the decisions that are being made and why they're being made. We're trying to give you guys a narrative that is not as biased to allow you to make your decision and make an educated assumption here. Or not an educated assumption. Does that make sense? No. An educated opinion. Educated assumption. I guess you can still do that. You can have an educated assumption, but whatever. Anyways, we're not talking about that. So that's kind of like what I'm looking at as far as Vainglory. I, for one, can respect Vainglory for reevaluating past decisions that weren't working and taking the appropriate steps to take the steps that actually will work and have a more impactful, beneficial means to the game and to the community. That's a huge thing. Like a company who can see their wrongdoings, their own wrongdoings, and improve and find a solution with that is more respected than one that basically says, all right, our game is dying. We're too lazy to try to fix it. Let's just milk the product and run it into the ground. Let's just do that. No, these guys, SCMC, are like, we see a problem. We want this game to succeed. We want to provide the best product for our community and also grow that community so everybody who's already included in the community can enjoy a vibrant and thriving environments in their game. Not have these issues with like, oh, I'm vainglorious, but I'm getting paired with tier 4s because their player base is so small. No, they want to grow the game to a point where things are more balanced. Things are just more enjoyable overall, and it just gets better going forward. And that's what they're trying to do. It's definitely a hard thing to do to correct, but it's definitely going to be corrected, I feel. I've talked to many people. I've talked to devs. I've talked to people who work in business and got their kind of viewpoint on the situation after I explain it to them. And they're like, look, what they're doing is a great step forward. You don't want to continue to trend that isn't working and keep investing an absurd amount of money in a business practice that isn't working. You don't do that. Like, are you an idiot? It's like gambling. It's just like gambling. It's like, I'm not hitting the lottery, but if I keep playing, it's gonna work. If I keep playing, I'm gonna win. Well, more than likely, you're not gonna win. So you gotta change your approach. Well, with gambling, you can't really change your approach. Your approach is to change, is to stop gambling. But anyways, that was kind of a bad example. I'm so bad at this, but anyways. So yeah, I think my video ran long enough. That's kind of my opinion. I know I reiterated a lot of stuff that Flash X said, but I cannot just bypass it because it's such a sound statement. There's so much fact involved in that, and it's so much thought and research done that I can't disregard what he said, and it's so true. Like, there's so much uninformed, uneducated claims out there. And while like I said, I don't disrespect any of these people making these claims. They're entitled to their opinions. If you're a content creator like myself, if you're stepping away from Vainglory a little bit to do other content because you see a downward trend in viewership, I'm going to be honest, I see a downward trend in viewership. And while that may have some impact on my channel via the stagnation of Vainglory as far as a player base, that has some impact. Other things like my, the current player base, a lot of them have been playing for quite a while. So the relevance of my videos might not be as high anymore because, well, they're not low tier players anymore. And so they want to move on to other channels, which is completely understandable. And I like that. I like that I can, be a stepping stone to other channels to grow a successful means of just being a content creator. And things like that. It's not one element, but, It's just one of those things that kind of happen, you know, and you kind of have to just work with it. I lost my train of thought. I'm such an old man. I always lose my train of thought. But anyways, that's that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. While it was very educational and less entertaining, hopefully it gave you a bit of a broader insight as to what's going on and allow you to make a more educated assumption of what's going on. Yeah. Okay, bye.